Well, hello guys. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, my name is Brett Ryan. I am a salon suite owner and a full blonde specialist along with color correction specialist who now dabbles in extensions as well, and I'm here to make you a better hairdresser. So before we go any further, hit that big like button, leave a comment down below leaving video ideas you want to see in the future, and also do not forget to join the family. This is going to be a channel I'm going to take to the next level this year. I also have a personal vlogging channel. If you want to subscribe to that, the link's down below in the description box as well. Join the community, you won't regret it. All right, so today is a long one, so make sure you have a snack, a drink, and you're snuggled in tight, and you're ready for it because this is going to be a long tutorial breaking down many little things on my favorite foil placement for a full Babylight highlight. So this is my client Dory. She's been coming to me for the better half of almost a year and a half now. She comes every 6 months. We've now changed it. She'll be coming every 4, but you've seen the regrowth. It grew out beautiful. She's a natural level 6. I know I always talk about not ever slicing around the hairline unless the client's a level 7 or lighter. With her, she lifts so well that I'm always confident enough to actually do a slice or 2 around the hairline. So I'm doing 2 baby slices, followed by Babylights tightly packed back to back around the entire hairline, which I already have sectioned off. Tip and trick, always section off your hairline. It makes it a lot easier so you know where you're going, how much you have left to go, and just fold those foils over a little bit and make it easier when you go on and work your way up to the side. I am starting in the front because that's what I like to do most of the time for my blondes when it comes to maintenance. If it's somebody new in my chair, I'll always start in the back, or if it's a color correction or somebody we did something crazy or their hair is very fragile and I don't think it's going to hold and I'm just a little nervous and want to be extra safe, I'll always make sure I begin in the back, because if they do finish earlier, you can always lay them back in the sink, take the foils out, wash that hair, put a treatment on it, and tuck it away until the front finishes up, because if you know me, you know I like letting it sit and process, and very rarely has it happened where I actually have to wash somebody out sooner. I always run with the 20 volume, but in certain situations and color corrections, it might vary. Something else I've been loving lately that I do on my blondes is when I'm doing that hairline that's detailed, you see I always do the Babylights really tightly packed together with literally hairs in between that you can count, because that's going to give us that brighter effect. It's a little bit smaller and tighter packed than my normal average Babylight, but I like to decipher the difference between that hairline and also the regular Babylights, just so I can keep an eye on them. So what I like to do lately is use a different foil. These are Framar foils. These are the pre-cut. Had them in my cabinet for a very long time. I'm using them all up, and they are shorter. These are good for hairlines because you don't have all that extra long length. And most of the time around the hairline, people don't have long hair. Even if their hair is long all over, the hairline's always more fragile. And when we're doing such small foils, you don't want extra long, bulky foils because that can help make them slip a little easier. If you don't have shorter foils, you can also do different color foils. I know Color Track, Framar. My favorite now, I'm actually waiting for an order, is Foil Me Foils from Australia. They all have different colors, shapes, colors, all that good stuff. So it's always good. It doesn't have to be shorter or smaller. It could just be something different in color, just so you remember what's what. It's even good when you're doing lowlights as well if you want to keep track and make sure you know where they're at.
You should see the city lights tonight. I don't think they've ever burned this bright. Did you know when how everything would turn out? We learned to run, we learned to fight.
Okay, so a lot of people are always scared from the moment they're in school, and I believe this is where it begins in their head. And we're always told you cannot bleach it more than once. You bleach it once, it's blonde. You bleach it twice, it's gone. And I want you guys to get that out of your head. The technology in bleach, color, Olaplex, bond builders, bonding agents. Blommy, the lightener I love, it automatically has something built in it, which is a bonding agent. So you don't need Olaplex. And that's in a lightener. So you don't always have to even buy Olaplex or, you know, the other one, I can't think of another one right now. I heard about K18, which I'm going to be trying, but there's so many out on the market. I know Fanola, they have Fiber Fix. I have plenty of that. Love that. Fanola's, Fiber Fix, and Olaplex are the only ones I'll use. I do want to venture out and try other ones, but as long as we have all this technology, stop being scared of bleach. You know, everybody is always so quick to say, you can't overlap, you can't do this, you can't do that. I see it all the time. I get a lot of crap from people emailing me and stuff, just saying nasty things. And I got a couple of comments the other day actually thanking me for explaining it and, you know, making sense because that person gets where I'm coming from. So today we're doing maintenance, and usually I'll just touch her root and then kick the ends out, and that's it. But if you notice, I am kicking most of the ends out, but I will take the bulk of the product, put it on her virgin level 6, and then we're gonna have a little mid area. So look at this. Every time we're foiling, if I just went in and touched just that darker root, kicked it out, left it alone, you got to remember the next session, there's going to be where the subsections were. So where I am doing that virgin right there, I also take when my brush is a little drier and feather it through that mid area, because every time you highlight, you have a subsection, which I'm leaving out in between the foils, that comes off of the stitch. That is still in there. So there's still depth in there, and we want to eliminate it with like her more bright and more platinum. Today we're doing something different and adding some lowlights, which we never do. But if you watch, I do my stitch. I stitch off the top of it. That hair is being left in between the foils, which we know is a subsection, and that hair will still be in there even though my stitches are very, very fine. You can still see that dimension, and if I don't do anything but touch that root, you're gonna get polka dot spots all throughout the ends, and it's not gonna be pleasant. Clients know going into blonde and bleaching, it's damaging. They're aware. If you actually sit down and talk to them and not be so scared of bleach, you'll notice that even the clients are okay with taking a chance and taking a risk. I have a manager here at Phoenix. I did her hair. She's my good friend Jess. She was trying so long, so hard to get her white blonde. Nobody will overlap her. Her hair was just getting more oranger and oranger the lower it went, because it's collecting all the particles in the air, the atmosphere, the different products, buildup, all that stuff. So it's not realistic to have beautiful colored hair if you're just gonna always touch the root and kick the ends out and just tone it. Let me tell you, after a few times, that toner will not work. The hair gets healthier, and when the hair gets healthier, it seals up. And the reason why you get brass is because when you're bleaching, I like to think of poking holes in it, like taking a straw and poking holes in it. The more you overlap, the more holes are poked. You don't want to go too far because eventually that piece will break. But you got to remember that pigment, the underlying pigment, the red, the orange, the yellow, that's all being broken up and kicked through. But what happens is when your hair starts getting healthy over time, your hair will start getting dingy, yellow, brassy. That's because that underlying pigment that was broken up with the bleach is finding its way back together, and that's always going to happen. I have clients that come in and say, my hair is still getting yellow. It's always going to get yellow, and you always got to address it. So yeah, you can tone it for a few times, but later on, as 8 months go by, 9 months go by, you still have to eventually do a bleach wash at the bowl or something, because that will not tone right, and it will give you almost the look of hot roots, where you get really good lift in the root area that you're touching with the bleach, and the ends just look yellower and orange as they go down further and further, and that is not pleasant. Nobody wants it. I have people come in, they all say nobody will overlap them. I tell them the risk. They know what they're doing. Starting this year, I'm making them sign color consent forms, and they're aware of it. And you would be surprised the amount of clients that are already willing to take the risk for the color to be what they want. They know how to take care of their hair. You got to just educate them on products. All my clients, if I'm overlapping them, they're getting a trim that day, and they're also taking care of their hair. They use Olaplex, Fanola, and I know it. You got to know your clients. And guys, I'm not telling you to just overlap every single client, no matter how light they are, all the time, full saturation. I'm not saying that. Use your best judgment. You're the professional. If you feel like their hair is not too healthy, it can't handle it, don't do it. I have total confidence overlapping Dory's hair today and feathering down through that mid area, because I know she takes care of her hair. Her hair is number one to her. Everything is her hair. She uses great products. She's always asking me questions and trying to do better for her hair. And we're just focusing on that level 6 root, feathering down gently through the mid area where some of that subsection from last session lies. And where it's light enough on the ends that the toner will work, I just feather it out of the foil and fold it up. I also have another big tip and trick for you guys when it comes to people who are blonde and they're already so blonde that you're scared to overlap them. And sometimes that does happen. Some clients can become addicted to bleach, and I have it all the time where even if they're a level 10 white, bright as possible, they still want you to overlap a little bit, and there is a way to handle that. Add a low light. I know you guys are probably so confused, but adding a low light will make that hair pop like never before. Today I actually asked Dory if we were okay with adding a low light because she does want some more brightness and a little bit more natural where it actually grows out beautifully. Because if you're really solid on those ends, it's gonna look harsh no matter how well the baby lights are. And don't get me wrong, the baby lights will grow out beautifully and it won't be as harsh as if somebody doing a thicker stitch or lightener on the scalp. But I told her, let's just try the low light trick. I do this to all my Instagram blondes. Everybody always comes in and says, I wanna be on your Instagram channel and I want your Instagram blonde. My signature looks always have that really nice bright white, but it's so nice and finely stitched that it appears to be growing out of the head. That's what everybody's talking about. And that's what we're giving her today, because no matter how well baby lights are tightly stitched, and they do make it grow out very, very well, like I said, but it still is a little harsh if you're just more solid blonde, and that's it. So we're adding a low light. I mixed up 7N, 8N, 8GB Goldwell Colorance, mostly 7N, and this is going to be just the perfect thing for her. I like to always go one level darker on the root area and a little bit lighter on those low lights, so it ties everything together. Applying my low lights, very different. I've been doing this a lot lately. I like placing my baby lights foils and then going back afterwards and actually going in between wherever I feel I want one and weaving it out again to make it even smaller. That's a trick I like to do for somebody who's used to being more solid, so that they don't freak out when they see the low lights and they don't look too solid. Not that I'm weaving them chunky, because they're very, very fine, but it's still smaller than my normal size low light would be, if you think about it, because I'm weaving it a second time. In the back, I won't do that, however. I'll do my normal 2-to-1, 3-to-1, whatever I feel like doing. And with her, I have decided to do 2 baby lights to 1 low light. So every third foil will be a low light. But just in the front, I want it to look more bright, still have some dimension, but be very subtle to not scare her or freak her out. Because adding something darker of any kind, even if it was a level 9, she's a level 10, it could be scary. So I just wanted to do that to make her more transition well into this. And now you'll see I'm adding a regular low light size, just like a baby light size, without going in afterwards and actually weaving it out of the subsection. Just wanted to touch on 2 things. First of all, before I forget, now you can see up close very well where I clipped the hair up, so you get a better look at what the hair looks like internally. You can see her brand new regrowth, and then you can see that mid area from the last subsection from last time, right above that fresh root. You can see the old subsection. So that's why you must feather through. If you don't, the hair will start getting darker and you'll have polka dots everywhere. So a couple more tips when it comes to foiling is securing that foil. If you notice that when I take my foil after I stitch, I take my foil and I do the flip in the back of it, so that once I apply this low light like I'm doing right now, I'll make sure I feather through it to make sure that foil is still really nice and tight. But if God forbid it slips loose, by doing another tuck underneath, I'm able to fold once, fold twice, and take my comb and re-tighten that foil to make sure it's nice and secure. So if you fold your foil forward, which I see 90% of us do in the industry, I never got that, because if you need help to readjust that foil, there's nothing you can do but try to pull the hair back down. But it's just so much easier doing it underneath, and I've been loving this. I've done this my whole entire career, and you can also see up close better how I feather through that mid area and kick those really light level 10 ends out.
Sooner or later, we can be
also get questions all the time from people who worked for me as assistants and other stylists. Emails from a lot of you on here that follow me. My email's in the description box if you ever have any questions you want one-on-one answers. Or you could try leaving it in the comments. I answer as many as I can. But a lot of people always question how I'm able to apply my lightener up to the ridge of that foil and be secure and not scared of bleeding. You have to have confidence, guys. Fake it till you make it. Know your product. I've used many different lighteners throughout my career, and you know, most lighteners do swell, but if you're mixing correctly and you got the perfect consistency and you know, you're feathering up or whatever you feel more comfortable doing, you should be fine. See, I apply my foil, make sure it's really tight, secure. Sometimes I'll tell my clients it might hurt, but that means I'm a good foiler because I'm really getting it tight. You'll notice I apply about an inch down and then I start working my brush up. And then sometimes afterwards, if I feel like, okay, you know, I want to feather it so it's not a little harsh, or I feel like, oh, there was too much product there, let me just feather it a little bit so there's no bleeding. I'll go in and take my brush on a vertical and I'll start feathering it right at that ridge of the foil, and that ensures that there won't be any bleeding. It's going to take you time to get used to it and comfortable enough where you don't have issues, but even me doing this 3 years in my career, or people who've been doing it for 20 years, there's always going to be mistakes, there's always going to be bleeders, but just as long as you're not purposely rushing through, not caring, not giving a crap about your work, then it's okay if you have a mistake. But if you're a hairdresser saying, you know what, screw this, going in and just taking a whole brush full of product and just spanking it on that hair, not caring, knowing it's going to bleed, do not think that root toners will save you, because everything always comes to light. And clients, what if the client all of a sudden says, I don't want a root shadow today? You're screwed. So make sure you do the work. You don't cheat yourself or your client. You do the work very well. Trust me and believe me, clients are always watching every move, every facial expression, and they know.
Too soon to know we were in trouble. Too late to make it go away. You always try too hard to hide it. You made it easier each day. If I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. If I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. You should see the city lights tonight. I don't think they've ever burned this bright. Did you?
All right, so now all the baby lights and baby low lights are complete. Now I want to do one more thing that I like doing, especially when the client just needs a little bit of kick, a little bit of pop. Now, normally if I am teasing the dropouts, I'll do it as I work through every section so it has more time and it actually gets the job done. Or sometimes I'll bump the developer up in the situation, sometimes I'll bump it down. We're downing it today, and we're only using Schwarzkopf Blondie 7 volume with a 16th ounce of Olaplex. I'm going through and tipping out all the ends, and what this is going to do is help pop the cuticle open on all the hair left out on the ends, and that will allow it to take toner very well. Remember I said earlier that if you don't feather down, bleach wash, something every now and then, you don't have to do it every time, but at least every now and then, your toner won't work. It's getting darker and level, and you can't tone the hair with a 10 if all of it's not a 10, because you got to add a little 9 in there, right? We don't want to darken her at all. So the only other option is to do this. This is just going to be on the hair while we process. She processed for about 45 minutes, and it didn't do much, but it did kick out all that brass and allowed a beautiful end result. I know I'm probably going to get crap for saying this, but I said it before in another video, and I stand true to it and stand by it, that when your hair is healthy, it is not the color you want because it's brassy. In order to remove that nasty brass, you have to feather through with Lightener. Be it any way you feel comfortable, doing a bleach wash when you rinse the foils out with some shampoo and some 10 volume of Blonde Me or whatever you use. That could be good if you leave it on for 5 to 10 minutes. I choose to do it this way because I am very trusting in Schwarzkopf Blonde Me, and I'm trusting in all my products, and I know the hair would be okay, but you can actually see how yellow and golden it really was when I was tipping it out, trying to pop that cuticle open. So we did this, and now I'm moving on into making her root toner. We always do a root shadow on her. She comes every 6 months. We are going to start seeing her 3 times a year, every 4 months. She'll be back in April. But I always like to use the person's natural level. So I'm going to be doing Shades EQ 6N with a sprinkle of 6NA because she lifted so well. But I wanted to add that NA in there just for security to make sure any extra warmth is knocked out. For her all-over toner, I'm using my favorite bright white formula, and that is Goldwell Colorance 10V, 10P equal parts. If you guys have not tried Goldwell 10 levels, you have no idea what you're missing out on, and you gotta go out and try it. I know it can be pricey, but I am in love with Goldwell.
Knowing how everything would turn out, we learn to run, we learn to fight. Sooner or later, we can become strangers. Someday, somewhere, we can be new again. We can be anything that we wanted to be back then. Just wait, just wait. If I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. And if I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. I wanted to be saved before we lost our way. We were picture perfect, but below the surface, I wasn't okay. I made it look the way. I'm saying you deserved it. Sometimes it just happens that way. Sooner or later, we can become strangers. Someday, somewhere, we can be new again. We can be anything that we wanted to be back then. Just wait, just wait. If I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. And if I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. Too soon to know we were in trouble. Too late to make it go away. You always try too hard to hide it. You made it easier each day.
So toning is a very important part during a blonding session, and it is where everything comes together. So I always say the foiling is building the house, and the toning and root toning is actually painting it and moving in. You can mess up all your hard work very easily by not toning correctly or, doing something wrong, or it can be even enhanced and more beautiful. I always say tone to enhance, never tone to fix. So as I said, she lifted so beautifully and perfectly. I probably could have got away with a 6N only for her root shadow, but I did add a little dribble drabble of 6NA to keep it cool. If you've been following me for a while, you guys know I love ends with a little NA on the root. Very rare I'll use a little bit of warm. I most of the time just like the neutral, but sometimes if a client wants more warmth or we're going for a more bronzy, warmed colored look, I'll add a little bit of NB in there instead of the NA. You guys seen me do this a million times. I'll now comb everything with my Samvia blending comb. If you don't have one of these, you gotta pick it up. It's amazing. I also recently have fallen in love with the Olivia Garden eye blend brush that is amazing for blending. And if you're doing a lot of smudging, tapping, blending, shadowing, all that stuff, you got to pick it up and pick up the Sampia comb. With those two alone, you will not regret it. I always leave the front hairline out with the shadow for the first about 6 to 7 minutes, letting that root shadow process about that long. Then I'll go in and I'll just lightly tap around that hairline just so everything meshes well together. If somebody's a level 8, 9 blonde, really bright, beautiful, wants that solid look and lifted perfectly, I will end up sometimes not tapping the hairline at all. But I most of the time will do it, and most clients want it. It's very rare that they don't. But this just makes it all come together beautifully, and she'll still have a nice hairline money piece. So now we're going to tackle that hairline, and once I do, tap it very slightly and apply it all over. I'll comb everything together for about 1 to 2 minutes, letting it sit on and process that long only. Then I'll lay her back, and when I'm doing a shadow or a tap, I will rinse that out. If I'm doing a smudge, like I did in my video a couple videos back, I'll leave it on and then I'll apply the All Global Toner along with it and mush them in together for a seamless blend and for longevity. But when I'm just doing a shadow or a slight tap, I like to rinse it out and then apply the All Over Global Toner in the sink.
If I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through. If I only knew how to make it true, we could write a new ending for you. You can pick and choose. All you gotta do is play the whole thing through.
When I'm going around the hairline, I will sometimes only dip my brush maybe 2 or 3 times on one entire side. Minimal product is all that you need because we're not trying to really deepen that shadow on the front area. We're just trying to bring it all together when we comb it back, and you can see how that stays a lot brighter in that hairline than it does in the back where the shadow is on longer and more saturated. I now have her Global Toner on, the Goldwell Colorance 10V 10P, and you can see how beautiful that toner is going to be. And wait until you guys see these results. You're gonna love it.
You should see the city lights tonight. I don't think they've ever burned this bright. Did you know when how everything would turn out? If we learn to run, we learn to fight. Sooner or later, we can become strangers. Someday, somewhere.
Here's another trick. When I'm actually dusting the hair, I learn to bend that hair and actually see all the splits coming out and get rid of them. This keeps my client's hair healthy, and it prevents any hair from splitting or breaking any further, and it prevents basically the blonde mullet that we all know so well. Even in this terrible salon lighting, you can see how beautiful those low lights are. It actually looks like it's growing out of her head, and this is her natural color getting lighter from the sun, and that was our goal, and that's what we hit. Like I said, if anytime I overlap or feather down or anything of the such, the client must receive a trim. All right, guys, there you have it. I hope you've learned something here today in this 30-minute tutorial. If you made it this far, thank you so much for your love and support. Definitely join the family, subscribe, share with loved ones who might be interested in this content. Go to the link below in my description box and also subscribe to my vlogging channel. That will help me out tremendously. I'm taking YouTube and social media to the next level in 2022. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one. As always, so long for now, guys.